This episode of the Book of Very, Very Bad Things podcast has been brought to you by our sponsors at Sweet Cheetah Publicity. Sweet Cheetah is a PR collective that values people over profit. They put a different spin on public relations by working primarily with friends and using all profits to aid charitable organizations. With a roster that includes Jawbox, The New Amsterdams, Brainiac, Get Some, Funeral Date, Damian Dunn, and many more artists, record labels, and podcasts. Sweet Cheetah. That's a great PR cohort. You can find them on social media by simply searching Sweet Cheetah PR, and they'll be there. He's been Tim. I've been Peter, and Sweet Cheetah has been beautiful.
If I'm the curse to win this, I would. If I could to win this, I would.
And I would. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Book of Very, Very Bad Things podcast. I'm your host Peter, and I am still here. And tonight, I give to you part 2 of my continuing discussion with Dave Nesmith. I told you all about Dave's storied and lofty discography, all of which is available on Love It Records. Tonight, we're going to concentrate on the great Bats and Mice. Bats and Mice are back with a new record that is coming in the very near future. But for a special treat tonight, I have a clip of their new song from the forthcoming record. Space Race is the name of the song. I'll give that to you in just a moment. If you love what we do, you know what to do. Tell a friend. Share my stuff on Facebook, Instagram. Rate me. Review me. Subscribe to me. Wherever you listen to podcasts. Give me a little comment on YouTube. Whatever. I would appreciate it. And it helps us keep the wheels turning here. Bats and Mice were easily the most melodic turn in all of Dave's bands. The most emotionally jarring, the most intellectually provocative. There's so much going on in these records, and I don't think my discography would be the same without Dave Nesmith. I really don't. Everything that I own would be incomplete without his works. And that is the truth. I also want to just posit this question to all of you. Since I cover so many artists from so many different spheres of the musical universe, as it were, who would you like to hear from on this podcast? If you have any ideas, any inklings, any artists that you really love that I have not yet interviewed or focused upon, please reach out to me on Instagram, Facebook, wherever you follow me at. I am very receptive. I answer all of my direct messages, and let's get together and cook something up. I'm here for you. Without further ado, I give to you Space Race, the new track by Bats and Mice, and Dave Nesmith on the Book of Very, Very Bad Things podcast.
Quiet
because I grew up on a farm. I was on a horse farm. My mom is a riding instructor. My dad was a country lawyer, so we were out, I had nothing to do. And once my dad retired from the Marines, he went to law school. And then, I'm just in the middle of horse country, Northern Virginia.
Yeah.
And I, spent a lot of time on my own doing chores on the farm. And, I think that's why we actually have a farm now. I've got, a farm here in North Carolina, and that's what I want to give to the boys is like this. And I don't do any screen time with the boys. Like there's just completely, I'm just like, go out, hang out with the chickens, hang out with the goats, and they're, thriving in that. Yeah. I want to give them that sort of experience of, the other thing. Yeah. So to be like my ethos about punk rock and everything too, which I think you seem like you're right in tune with, is you can do whatever you want, be whatever you want, and it should be that way and be accepted. But I am like a person who likes a whole wide range of music.
Yeah.
But I remember because I was an angry young kid too, who was like so angry and writing, a little more political songs, and, my rap band was very political. But I remember sitting there being like, you know what, all this anger that I'm feeling, it's making me just feel worse. And I could spend the rest of my life doing positive, helpful things for people. And I could never even get to that anger part before I've helped everyone. I was, doing volunteer work in college or whatever.
You were doing it. You weren't just
and
talking about it.
Yeah, I could do all this work, and I never will get to the part where I have to be angry about it because there's so much that we could help out there. And it's the same thing I feel with punk rock, because I was raised under the positive force kind of ethos. Fugazi, just, such an inspiration. But, Ian Mackay would be like, hey, I don't have any sort of, the Grammys, the Grammys just happen and they are interesting, but, there is a certain amount of that is not the goal of, what we are doing, it's a different, we don't have to make that as being the part of what we're doing. We're doing this because we are making a, nothing against the Grammys or even being a part of it. And that's the whole point. It's I don't want to have any sort of negative, there's so many punk rockers that I've run across in my life that have a negative, oh, screw mainstream culture, screw, all this, I'm like, if you don't if you don't like something in mainstream culture, make your own scene.
And that was the point, right? That was what kind of, in my opinion, what made hardcore so different was because we not only did we have a problem with the way music was being presented, we presented an alternative. And that's the get, right? That's the big point to it all. Not just being pissed off about the status quo, but presenting an alternative to it.
Totally.
Being proactive. And just like you're saying about owning a farm, that's my wife and I, our dream is to do the exact same. We've been working toward that. uh,
Awesome.
doing something self-sustaining, and also like being animal rights activists, like creating a space where animals who are exploited, abused, have a refuge.
Awesome.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
And that's not just talking about it, but being about it.
yeah. Exactly.
People say that as an adage, like don't talk about it, be about it, but truly living it and giving or putting forth an air of inclusivity within the confines of your own belief system is what makes punk
Yeah,
punk
yeah,
rock,
exactly. Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
totally. And I would rebel. I remember like any sort of conformity in punk rock, I would rebel against. Like I
Yeah.
remember like Maximilian Colby played a show in DC, and I um like just had a mustache, and then I wore fuchsia sweatpants, and then I put a spatula on a chain as like my spatula chain wallet.
Yeah.
I was like, because we're supposed to be different. We're not supposed to all wear white belts or whatever what the punk fashion at the time.
Yeah.
And I showed up at the show to play, and Bob was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, then he started laughing, and and then we had this wonderful show, and like I think like that I like I the whole like so like Simple Machines, it was like a label in DC,
Yeah.
and they had what band was that had the song Punk Means Cuddle,
Oh God.
Jenny Toomey's band, whatever it was.
That wasn't Huggy Bear, right?
No, I can't remember the name. I feel so bad, but yeah. I mean, but that's the ethos. Like punk is cuddle, like 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 it. You should, and that's what JMU was like too. Like hey, let's all get together. Screw like I don't know. Like John and I used to joke in Rob Roz, and we would joke about we're going to start our own art movement called rejectionism. And rejectionism is all about inclusivity. Like rejectionism means you don't reject anything. Like, and so we're just going to have this, like art movement that was like, hey, let's just have everything is allowed, where, like all these art movements are like, oh, this one thing,
Yeah.
but rejectionism is all about like everything. But because all this stuff is I mean it's a wonderful, it's been a wonderful life, a wonderful experience. I wouldn't trade it anything of this. But the one takeaway is like, you can't um make it be one thing,
Yeah.
otherwise it is stagnant. I mean, I'm so like the nice thing you said about like Sleepy Time, that it came along and did something different. Like I feel like I've done that with a lot of my bands, like I've
Oh yeah.
never been. And the other thing, like when Rob Roz was done, like I started playing drums with this band Sweatpants,
Yeah.
you know, and Sweatpants is like a punk rock Warren Zevon, like, or like Bruce Springsteen band, like
Well,
like
Warren Zevon was definitely the closest, in my opinion, just because lyrically speaking, Warren was an absurdist
yeah.
and a true poet. Like as
Oh,
much
I
as I
know.
love
Yeah.
Bruce Springsteen, I love Warren.
Oh
Warren,
my God. Yeah.
like excitable boy, like rub the roast on his chest.
That's
Excitable
an
boy, they
amazing
all said,
record. Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
send lawyers, guns, and money.
Oh my God. That is like my dad always is like that's about you, because he's a lawyer,
Yeah.
and he's like I want to play, like I have a dream one day of like showing up in the driveway of my parents' house and playing that song for him.
There's something about Warren Zevon that has an air of contrarianism that
Yes,
really speaks
exactly.
to me.
Yes,
Right?
yeah, so true. And then the emotional aspect, because Vera Cruz it'll rip your heart out.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
song is just
Vera Cruz and
amazing.
Carmelita. Those two
Yeah.
songs, there's something about it that, like, he's bearing a very specific aspect of his soul
Yes.
that runs very counter to the people who you would normally think would listen to a Warren Zevon record.
Yeah, yeah. And that's
You know-
what, like, I mean, I think I get like the goofiness of what I do, and then also that passion, heartfeltness, because there's things that nobody would ever, like, I have a whole acoustic set that's like a funny acoustic set that I played out, and then I have like I probably drive my friends nuts because I don't do social media, and I just send them songs all the time. Like, I've sent them whole records. Like, I sent them a record about soup. Like, I did tomato soup, I did black bean soup. And I, like, just kept sending them these songs. And then what was the other one? Oh, I did a whole record that was like, instead of Men's Recovery Project, it was You Guys Restoration Program. And then all the lyrics were just you guys. So I just sent this whole record that was just you guys. And it's stuff that nobody but my friends will get to listen to, but I just love doing it because of, like, that's like, but then, yeah, like, for Bats and Mice, it's like this heartfelt thing.
Yeah.
For me, I was heartfelt. Max Colby is heartfelt. Like, I mean,
Max Colby is very heartfelt. I think of every project you were involved with, Max Colby is the most emotionally austere because it starts from a very baseline place, like you hadn't really seen the world yet. It's coming from
right,
like, a very youthful place, a very austere might not even be the right word, but definitely like just seeing the world and really despising what you'd seen and reacting to it. It's a reactionary musical project in that way, because, like, you're just like, oh God, this is not what I wanted from adulthood.
Yeah. And that's such a good point. And Drew just texted me, and a friend of ours just suffered a loss, and I don't want to go into details about it, but, like, Drew texted me that he said that our friend just walked around the neighborhood and listened to New Jello, like, and I was like, this is what, 30 years later? I don't know how long now. Is it? So 93? Yeah.
93. So you're
93,
that's 30 years.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is helping him, and I was like, actually, Drew, maybe we should do something. I don't know with it. I have no idea, but I don't. Yeah, don't put that out. But
right, but like 30 years ago, I was 17. You were in your early 20s. Like,
yes,
there. Maybe it doesn't make sense to you in your mind because you were in a different place then.
Yeah.
But what you'd written will resonate throughout the ages because it's documented. It already happened and it mattered. So it will continue to matter. That's the beautiful thing about having a recorded document of what you'd done, and it mattered then, so it will matter now.
Yeah. It was interesting.
It's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Like, it's when we recorded it too, it was in Richmond, and it was with this guy who was just like this rock and roll. Like, we didn't know where to record. We don't know how to do any of this stuff. So
Yeah.
that was before we would go record with people that were like, who knew what we were doing. And he was just like, what are you guys doing? And then he got into it. And it was awesome because he was just like, oh, it's great. And then I had my, I guess we were on again, off again, girlfriend at the time. Donna came in, and the balance is like probably like the most emo song I've probably written, and it's a lot to do with my high school girlfriend and with my group of friends in high school. And then at the time I was in a poetry class that was like a LGBTQ kind of poetry class.
Mm.
And I read this Judy Grahn poem, A Woman Is Talking to Death. It just blew me away. And so I had her say the poem over, and we actually done it live. And then I had her do it in the studio.
Mm.
And I mean, I remember too, like, I came in out of recording the vocals because I think she actually did it was a different time where she like did the poem as I was singing. We like did it together.
Yeah.
And like, I remember coming in and I was like, oh, I kind of screamed a little like on this. And is that a little too much, a little too awkward, you know? And they were like in the sound booth being like, no, like this is, keep it, like this is real,
Yeah.
you know?
You capture the moment.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like, I mean, to me, like, I mean, you know, just yeah, those moments of just, I don't know. I'm now in my head going back thinking of all these moments of,
Well, think about how that translates to now, though, Dave. I mean, like,
right.
Are you still doing that? I think so. I think that's what you're still trying to.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. Like, I think so. Yeah. For, you know, I hope, I mean, the Bats record's going to come out and it is what it's going to be. You know, it is. I do feel like it's a little more, like, emotional for me, you know, like it's this, like I did a song on my birthday last year. There was this Buried Show Pony song that was just like, I told Ben Davis and Jason Hammaker. I mean, I just told them, I was like, I'm going to go in the studio and for my 50th birthday, I'm going to record a song.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do. And they were both like, can we come? And I was like, okay. You know, I thought I was going to have to play drums and the song would have been much worse if they hadn't come with me. And I had been so like, so I have like, I actually, so before that I had recorded 3 songs with Jonathan for Sleepy Time. Oh, in 2019, I showed up in Richmond. I went to the Avail reunion show, and then Jonathan and I went to the studio. We recorded these 3 songs. Like, let's do a Sleepy Time record. And I was like, because I am so angry. Like 2016 to 2020, I was angry.
Well, yeah, weren't we all?
Yes. And I was like, I need a release. And then I also wrote, you know, we have like a Regents record basically ready to record too. And finally, seemed like, oh, finally I got into the studio and recorded this Buried Show Pony song. And it was so amazing just to let loose. And I remember Jonathan, like Ben, like sent Jonathan the record or sent it the song, or I forget who, but like Jonathan was like, who is singing on this or screaming on this? And I was like, it was me. And I was just like, I have been so angry for like 4 years And I finally like screamed the hell out of my like this. And so I don't know, like, yeah, I also feel like I kind of, I don't know, vocally on the new bats, like I just sort of am letting it go. Like I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna try it. I'm just gonna, be a little more out there, a little more like vulnerable, a little more like, you know, um, not what I would have done if this would have been, if we had finished this back in 2012 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, but
So
yeah,
when is that slated to kind of drop for all of us?
I know that. So Al Jacob is the guy. He's engineering. He's awesome. And the Warrior Sound in North Carolina. He is just amazing. And he just finished up a metal record. So we did some tracking and like rough mixes, and then now he says he'll get back to mixing it this month, and he wants to knock it out this month. So, and then I don't know. It depends on Brian. So I love it. It'll be on Love It Records. So
Yeah, well,
so,
big surprise there.
yeah, exactly. Everything I've ever done is on. Well, I've done a few Vermiform, and then there was one Kill Rockstar 7-inch, but yeah.
Yeah, but for the most
Yeah.
part, everything's on Love It, and
Mhm.
like I can't say I'm shocked.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like,
I mean, I love Brian. He's awesome.
What's not to love? And
Yeah.
it's kind of incredible that Love It is still happening.
Yeah, I know. They just
can-
put out like the top album in Iceland. Like, so I don't know how Brian, like, he just started going to Iceland a bunch, and so like this I don't even remember the name of the record, but like he was like, oh, this record that I put out, the last one, I forget, Melancholy, I don't know, some artist in Iceland who's like, she won the record of the year in Iceland.
And it's on Love It.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
I know. And that's so, yeah, you talked earlier about a record label that, like, is with you, like, with their family, like, it's just, like, it's, they don't, like, I told Brian, like, hey, I'm going to do this Buried Show Pony song. And he's like, sure, I'll put it out. Like, I mean, it's just, we've gone, so long together. Like, it's just,
it's like imagine Frodis coming out with a record not on Love It. Like,
I know, yeah.
There's just certain things that are constants. Like,
Yes.
if Fugazi would put out a record not on Discord.
Exactly.
There's a Touch and Go, Love It, Discord, like these. If it comes out on this label, you're kind of guaranteed it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Or at least in line with your belief systems. And
I know. Yeah.
Maybe not for the rest of the world, but definitely for our subculture. If a band or an album is aligned with a record label that we're invested in emotionally,
right,
you're guaranteed you're going to enjoy yourself.
Oh, I know. I mean, that's how I grew up. I was like, oh, Discord's putting out a new record, I'm going to get it.
Exactly. Like when Discord came out with the first 6 records box set, which we all waited way too long for because, nothing to do with Discord, more to do with Adele.
Right.
But you know what I mean? Like, we're always going to be built in.
Oh, I know. Yeah, exactly.
It's a special and important thing that this constant be perpetuated.
Exactly.
And like, if I were to go through your entire catalog, even though they're all vastly dissimilar bands, there's a constant there too, because it all ascribes to the same thing. Okay, like Men's Recovery Project, Max Colby,
Mm-hmm.
Regents, it's still all coming from the same kind of place. So you're guaranteed to fall in line with the belief system behind whatever this was recorded under.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I mean, for us, it was never. It is about. I don't know. It like this is us. We're just gonna put out music that expresses who we are and have that energy. And I mean, there's it. Part of it is interesting because it's like, um, you know, there's a goofiness to Men's Recovery Project, right?
Yeah, but that was
But
a political move.
yeah, exactly. But there's a, I don't know, it was this and a reaction too,
Yeah.
um, and for Rob Ross, there was a goofiness too, but there was also like
It,
it
it was
pushed
it was
it pu-
violent.
yeah, it was violent, and also like it pushed me musically further than I'd ever been pushed before. Like, and it was, we didn't want to do the same thing, I guess, over. And we were listening to like Koenji from Japan. We were listening
Yeah.
to the Stickmen from Philly,
Mm-hmm.
and like just blown away by them, and like like wanting to do something a little different, but then also there is like a like still want to connect,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
want to be this scene isn't, I don't know, like it's not like I'm like, if I were to fight for anything, it would be like a inclusivity of it, like,
Yeah.
and it's a welcoming thing. Like early on when I was a kid, like, I wasn't like a popular kid, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I kind of was like, oh, suddenly sort of realized like I'm just gonna hang out with the people that want to hang out with me.
Mm-hmm.
Like and then we're gonna form our own thing, and it's gonna be just as good, if not better, than what the popular kids have. And it's kind of interesting to see it all kind of come around,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, because it has like these documents of your teenage years have legs and are still finding their way to the surface.
Right.
I don't even have a metric to balance against that because like none of the bands I'd been in resonate with people the way the things that you'd done have.
Oh,
Which is what it is. I don't want to be
oh.
remembered for anything I was doing back then, believe me. But
Do-
but in the same token, like these things you created as a young man have affected
mm.
a lot of people, like a lot of
Oh,
people,
that's
and
sweet of you.
it keeps, well, I mean, that's not kind words, that's just what
Oh,
is.
oh.
And it doesn't go away.
Mm,
So to have that sort of like purview of reality where I did this when I was fucking 16 and people are
yeah.
still listening to it and talking about it,
Oh.
that kind of puts a little pressure on you to continue to do something prescient. You know what I
Maybe, I
mean?
don't know. Yeah, like I
Maybe you don't feel it. Maybe you
yeah, like
don't
I
feel it,
actually,
Dave, really, but like
yeah.
I think I would almost feel that. Like, oh God, like
Oh,
how am I gonna live up to that? But you always sort of did, so it's
oh.
good for you. But if it were me, I'd be skeeved out a little bit by it.
Oh man, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I I I do have a sense of like if I were gonna play a reunion of Sleepy Time, or somehow we figured out Max Colby or something, like if I would do that, like I'd have to do it right. So
Yeah.
I do feel like a obligation, and then Sleepy Time has played reunions, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I I'm laughing because like there was one time I was getting ready for a reunion, and I like threw my back out jumping around in the practice space. Like I was like so excited to be like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
And then like I was like limping home, like
I'm back. I'm back. I'm not back.
yeah.
Oh my
And
God.
then yeah, the rest of like I was like, okay, I'm supposed to play this show on Friday. I'm just gonna play sitting down and get ready for it. But yeah, like but I still like once we got to the show, like I want to do it right. But then
Yeah.
for going forward, like I want to push myself. Like I do want to, like that's why I'm working on this record for myself that is all about, I'm calling well, I don't know if I should say, but it's called the Wild Begins.
Mm-hmm.
And I am I live on we live on this farm, and it's next to this state park, the Eno River State Park in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And I go out into the woods all the time, and my whole life has been this kind of, I'm in therapy now. I've been in therapy a lot through my life, and we all have suffered from, if and for anybody, like it's a great thing to do, and I've had to go through it because I have suffered from anxiety and depression. I've talked about panic attacks. I've like suffered from all that stuff, but like I've always found nature to be like healing to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but the one thing is like I'm trying to open myself up to music being not just an emotional experience that I also could that has like a cryptic nature to it. I also want it to be, where I'm conveying something as well, which I think I have, but
Oh
I
yeah.
think it's been more like a there's a lot more vibe to it, I guess, in the
Well,
conveying, which works, but
I disagree because there is, as I'd stated earlier,
mhm,
that certain sound, that certain something that
mhm,
is intangible, that's inherent to every band you were ever involved in, because there is that bent toward the maudlin, and also
right,
the political,
yeah,
and the personal as the political, and
yes,
a general sense of dissatisfaction
oh wow, yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah,
very, very, very apparent and
right,
important.
yes,
That's what makes it strike a chord, because it takes a stand. It has an opinion.
right,
There's
yeah, I guess,
nothing more
yeah,
boring than music that doesn't stand for something, that doesn't have an opinion, like a definitive, I stand on this side of things.
yeah,
I don't like that music. I don't want that music. That's the Backstreet Boys. That's pop. And
right, exactly, yeah,
there's a time and place for that, but I'm neither the time or the place for that. I'm not
yeah,
that
yeah,
person,
yeah,
you
so good,
know?
yeah, that's so good. I feel that's exactly what I'm trying to do, and that's why I don't think that like you mentioned, like to like to worry about what has come before and to do something
Yeah.
that is as good or whatever. Like it is like I can't do something that is bubblegum, whatever, like I can't, like that's it, like I have to do what comes out, you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
It's what
And
Chamberlain did. It's what Gorilla Biscuits did.
right. Yeah.
Everybody took that experience in that form and made it their own. And that's what
Yeah.
makes, you know, everybody from Neurosis to fucking Green Day their own bands.
Right. Yeah.
They took what they knew and what they saw
Hmm.
from the punk rock thing and injected their personalities into it. And what came out on the other side was honest, no matter which form it had taken.
Right. Right.
That's what I love about this.
Oh, I know. And me too. Like, and I, you know, like, you know, there's so many, like we talked about Discord, there were so many disparate sounding bands on that
Soulside
label.
didn't even sound like they belonged there.
Exactly. And
You know?
Fidelity Jones, I
Yeah.
love that. Uh, you know, like Shudder to Think. I mean, I used to go see Shudder to Think all the time. And I mean, like,
Listen,
they,
where are
yeah,
you going to get a band like the Makeup?
yeah, exactly.
Live from the
I
Rhythm
mean,
Hive is like, what the
yeah,
fuck am I listening? It's like
yeah,
soul punk go-go music. Like,
exactly. I know. And I mean, uh, you know, Go Go came from DC, and
yeah,
you know, we would see, you know, those bands play. Like there was a Go Go band, like with play with a veil. You
yeah,
know, like I
yeah.
would rest in a veil. I would have to say, like, you know, like before they moved to Richmond, before Tim was a singer, Brian was a singer, like, um, you know, like they would play with a Go Go band. You
hmm
know, like,
And that's all Minor Threats influence. Like, that's
yeah,
the way
yeah,
that shit happened.
exactly,
Like,
yeah,
Swizz played with fucking go-go bands, man.
yes.
Like, that was a
Oh
real
my God.
thing.
I'm so disappointed I never saw Swizz. I was about to see Swizz at Cedar Crest skate park, you know, like the half pipe, and my friend TW got hit in the head with a skateboard.
Oh, oh.
we had to leave. And I was like, you know, of course I'm like, oh, I'll see Swizz again.
Yeah,
Never.
but you didn't.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the thing is, like Sean is such a mercurial frontman.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
didn't know what you were going to get from him night to night, but
That's
man,
true.
what a fucking performer.
Oh yeah.
I never got to
I
see
wish.
Swizz either because I was just a little too young. But
Yeah.
I'd seen Sean in other bands, and every time, like from the Sweet Belly Hair now,
Hmm.
wow, what a presence on
Oh my
stage,
God.
like just
Yeah.
to exist on the same plane of existence as this guy while he does this music. He was even in
Yeah.
Dag Nasty.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, how, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, you know, you watch these people giving real performance. It wasn't like this, like, you know, my sister would take me to see metal bands when I was a kid. I
Yeah.
love my sister. She's 3 years older than me. She introduced me to all this music. Um, but she took me to see Kicks, you know, like,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
you know, and, you know, that's like a performance. And then, you know, it's the same thing that goes back to the whole, like, oh, this is Judas Priest record versus Frankenchrist.
Yeah.
You know, like this record had a meaning. And there's people on stage giving you themselves,
And you listen
you
to it
know.
and you realize
Yeah.
that you can pick up an instrument and
Yes.
become a part of this.
Yes. Exactly.
Whereas you're listening to Judas Priest and
Hmm.
KK Downing, you're not going to reach that level in a couple steps.
Right.
So
And that is almost plastic separated from you.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Where,
inattainable.
yeah, where this, like you talked about, like the people that were in those bands would hang out with you and talk to you and be like, this is, you can be a part of this, you know?
And you're at your age right now, you're still doing music that
Hmm.
invites that reciprocity and that
Yes.
level of interaction where you can go and play a show and
Hmm.
some kid who however old, like let's call it 17,
Yeah.
can go and see you play and still be like, hey man, this meant something to me, and they will get a response. It won't just be like, oh, you want me to sign your ticket stub
Right.
or
No. Yeah. Yeah.
it's not that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
something completely like other. It's the antithesis of that.
Yeah.
That's what made this all so special for me, and I know that's what made it special for you.
Oh, totally.
And
Exactly.
to beleaguer the point and drive at home, I know I don't need to, but man, that's what made, Sleepy Time Trio special to me. The Rob Raws, like Men's Recovery Project, all of it.
Oh,
I always had a connection to it. I always felt like I belonged in whatever room you were playing in.
oh, that's
That's a
so sweet. That is
big
one of the
fucking
best.
that's a big fucking deal for me, man.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that is so sweet. That is one of the best compliments I've ever heard. Like, because, that's, yeah, like we want, I wouldn't, we're to be in that room and feel the energy of all these people that you feel connected is what I felt when I saw those bands that inspired me,
Mm-hmm.
like, and if I can give that to other people, it's just a chain, that I hope is never broken. Like my friend, like Tom, who played drums in Max Colby, like he texted me and he was like, his daughter got a note from her friends, and they had bought the Max Colby 7-inch for her.
Oh wow.
And they were like, "Do you know your dad was in an amazing band?" And she showed it to him. She was like, you were in this band?" And he was like, "Oh yeah," like, like, and so that's amazing. Like, he sent it to me and I was like, "This is awesome." Like, I don't say that to be like we were an amazing band, but I say that to be like, it is awesome that there is a connection that you feel like, because when I found that, I felt that
you won
I was home.
something.
Yeah,
You
I
won
won
something. Yeah.
something, that I was home, that this is, and in this life, you can't, like, there's so, like, I love the fact that there are kids out there. Like, I just heard the podcast the other day about kids who are throwing away their smartphones and like having like wonderful experiences, and they might have like flip phones or whatever, or like, I think, I forget, it's like a New York Times podcast or whatever. And I was like,
Yeah.
hell yeah, go make your own freaking life. Don't be, because like, people all the time will ask me, like, who are other parents who like have screens for their kids. They'll ask me like, "Oh, like, aren't you worried that, your kids won't catch up or whatever? They won't, And I'm like, hell no. Like,
No.
they are, when you hand them that thing, you're saying like, "Oh, let's operate in this box." You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, here is the parameters of this phone or this iPad, whatever, and you want them to like be their creativity. You might get excited, oh, they can do this creativity, but the creativity is defined by this object
Yeah.
instead of this entire world, or like whatever they can make is let them loose into this, like,
But that's hard.
yeah, you're right.
I mean, and I'm a big proponent of allowing, from like my son, my daughter, I was a lot more liberal with because I was younger. But
Right.
as old dad, it becomes increasingly more difficult for me to allow my son to go on his own journey, and
Oh, right.
it's selfish as fuck.
I mean,
And
also, like, I'm scared, like, of,
yeah, I'm scared. It's fear. It's
yeah,
fear.
yes, yeah,
But
totally.
the more I allow him to strike out on his own, the more returns I get. just
Oh,
with
yes,
his
exactly.
own development. So that tells
Right.
me that my baser instincts are completely wrong.
Yeah. He's in kindergarten now?
He's going to be in kindergarten next year.
Oh.
This kid he's been a consistent surprise.
Oh.
When he was born,
Hmm.
they thought they still believe he's on the autism spectrum.
Hmm.
He'd gotten tubes in his ears very
Oh,
recently, within the
yeah.
last year. So he went
Gotcha.
from being nonverbal to verbose. He also
Oh,
went from not bothering with books to now he can read fluently.
right. Wow, it's
Say
amazing.
legitimately the same as I'd been at that age.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten that I was nonverbal, and my
Hmm.
parents had feared that I had some sort of learning disability or whatnot.
Yeah.
I was just bored.
Yeah. My parents were worried too, and my sister was like sticking up for me. She was like, "Oh, David doesn't talk, but he knows everything." Like they were she
Yeah,
was just
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
you
Because
know,
you
like
communicate with the sister, not mom and dad.
exactly.
Yeah,
And my youngest is actually very like he can kind of he like flips back and forth between
hmm
very like quiet and shy, and then all of a sudden he's very, open with certain situations.
hmm
And I have to remember not to be so afraid of that, because my oldest was a little bit like that. And then the same thing with reading too, was like my oldest wasn't reading, and then all of a
yeah,
sudden, like I can't get him out of a book now. Like
yeah,
he's,
yeah, yeah.
and yeah, I mean, for all those parents, like it's just, you can't, like,
You just
yeah,
gotta
it's,
wait. You have to
yeah,
wait.
exactly. Don't be so, I mean, that's like, but it's so hard, you know. I
Yeah, but
mean, any sort of like, I have found that, part of my journey through this parenthood thing is like I wouldn't have fun with them at the beach because I was so worried about them.
yeah,
So I've had
yeah.
to like let go of my like try to like let go of my anxiety around all this stuff. And yeah, it's hard. It's not easy.
No, and like most of it comes down to just like, with the exception of allowing them to get themselves hurt,
Hmm.
allowing for your children to go on their own journey.
Yeah.
And maybe it's ego, maybe it's just overprotectiveness. I know that's more than likely what it is on my part, but allowing
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
little man to you know explore the world.
Yeah.
You want to
Exactly.
protect them. It's almost a Darwinian imperative for us to
Hmm.
allow for our bloodline to perpetuate. So we want to protect them, protect.
Right. Right. Exactly.
The best part about being a parent, and the most important part, is allowing them to figure things out for themselves.
Yes.
It's the same thing with the music that we were doing and enjoying when we were
Yeah.
kids in the
Right.
80s. Uh,
Yes.
if our parents didn't back off that little bit,
Hmm.
where would we be?
I know, you're right. Like, well, my parents were very like hands off, like a lot
Yeah,
of
mine
things.
too.
So
Mine too.
yeah, they were very like, felt like a latchkey kid, even though my mom was home. But like, yeah, like it was, you know,
We're the last generation where mom was home.
yeah.
You and I had moms, at
Hmm.
least until I was probably early teenager. My mom didn't have a job
Yeah.
at
My
all.
Yeah, my mom, she taught horseback riding, but she was home. We had
Yeah.
horses at home,
hmm
and that, and I think there were years where it was before that happened anyway, where she, like when my dad was in law school, it was just kind of her. I remember those as being the pizza years
Yeah.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
because my mom doesn't cook actually,
No, my dad was
and
the cook too. So
yeah,
yeah, I
that's so
get it. I
funny.
get it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm the cook at home, not my wife.
Oh wow. Well,
Same thing happening here. Yeah.
yeah, I can't admit that because my wife actually she's Indian, I mean, she was
Mm.
born here, but she was from India, and she makes amazing Indian food.
Oh, you lucky bastard.
I
You
know, and then my mother-in-law even more so. Like, so yeah, I'm very lucky.
and you would think like it'd be an embarrassment of culinary riches in my house too, because my wife is black and grew up in the Dominican Republic.
Oh
Uh, uh,
man.
certain food, she'll do certain things, but 90% of the time I'm in the kitchen, and
Oh,
I,
man.
I don't know how it worked out that way, but like father, like son, I guess.
Have you been to Dominican Republic?
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
nice.
yes. I actually really love it there. I wish things were a little better there so I could take my son, but it's not quite that way right now, sadly.
Oh, oh.
Uh,
I don't know much about that. Like I know
there,
that I've heard like, oh, Haiti side is like
that's the problem.
a problem, and then yeah, then Dominican Republic. Oh, so it's
It
the
it it's the fact that it's not the Haitian people, it's
yeah,
the element crossing over into the DR that are causing some
right.
heartaches. And there's that element to every society.
Yeah, exactly. And
You
I
know what I
mean, I don't
mean?
know if you saw that New York Times did a whole big piece on yeah,
Hmm.
like Haiti having to pay reparations to the slave holders,
Yeah,
like to France
yeah,
for having a revolution.
yeah. That's
Fucking
pathetic
yeah,
beyond words. That,
yeah,
that's patriarchal,
yeah,
just disgusting. I
yeah,
can't believe it's still happening in this
mm,
era.
yeah,
It's not going to go away until we all decide to align with the people of color that are in our purview. Like
yeah,
we're not like 90% of us are not doing well
yeah, exactly.
financially,
Yeah,
and once we recognize that
yeah,
that's uh, an aspect of all of our life experiences,
hmm,
that's the only time we're all going to realize that racism is a moot state of being, because we're all experiencing a level of impoverishment and a
hmm,
level of being other, because that upper 2%,
yeah,
they're their own thing, they're their own race, their own class,
yeah,
their own caste system.
yeah, yeah,
We've been relegated to the same station in life. And
hmm,
what drives me nuts is working in a very blue collar vocation.
hmm.
As like I'd gone to school, I have my degree in literature, but I'm a plumber.
Oh,
I'm
awesome.
I'm a
Yeah,
union plumber. It sounds
yeah.
awesome, but I work around a lot of bigots and
Oh, right. Yeah,
people who vote against their own self-interests,
of
and
course.
there's so much inherent and casual racism built
Yeah,
into it, and they bandy these ideals around where, like, oh yeah, well, they get the free ride, and I see them with their food stamps buying
God.
steaks and
Yeah,
seafood. You've never seen that, man.
yeah,
I've
yeah.
never seen
Exactly.
that. None of us
Yeah,
have. That's a lie that some alt-right wackadoodle sold to you, and you bought it, and you repeat what they say. That's not the case.
yeah,
I know what food stamps get you, and you're not going to blow them all on a steak.
yeah, yeah. I know.
You-
I remember. So we lived in Alabama for like a year and a half, and I had a Republican neighbor,
mm,
and I would go over to his house, and we would have beers, and we would just talk, and like we didn't agree on everything, a lot of things actually, but
yeah,
the one thing that he was sensible. He was like, "Oh, um, well, I'm not going to do an Alabama accent," but he was like, I agree that healthcare should be universal because it just makes sense for all of us to pay together. It just
yeah,
financially makes sense."
yeah,
And I was like, as the Hillary Trump thing came along, I was like, we on this, like you were just saying, you and your other plumber coworkers or whatever, or people, and me and folks that I run around town, because I live on the edge of the blue bubble here in North Carolina near Chapel Hill. But like the we have more in common with each other.
Yeah.
And Hillary Clinton and Trump have more in common with each other than we have in common with them,
Yeah, because
So,
they're privileged. They're a privileged
yeah.
class. Yeah.
Why are we fighting? Because
There's no need.
Yeah, we could do so much better for every one of all of us. We could get done 80% of all the stuff we agree on, and make a better world. And oh yeah, we take away the taxes or take money away from these people, probably just by a little bit, but
They would never notice it.
you never notice, or we should take more away. I mean, I don't believe in billionaires. I don't believe in, capitalism. I mean, I'm
don't
not gonna,
at all.
yeah, like, I mean, it's not working. I
No,
don't know what else to do.
We're late, but we're late stage capitalism. We're watching
Yeah,
it disintegrate in front of our eyes.
exactly. Like Greta Thunberg would say, you think this growth is going to last forever? Like, no.
And
Like
she's right. And there are people in our scene and our luminaries from our scene who shit all over her like it's their job. And these are grown ass men.
exactly. Yeah. Are you?
Like John
I have no
Joseph,
idea.
what the fuck are you thinking?
Yeah. Like what? I mean, it's not, you think that it just astounds me that you think that this is sustainable. You know what I mean?
It's
It's not.
done.
When there was some statistic about Americans need 12 Earths to to sustain American lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like, how is this working? I remember speaking of Indigo Girls, in 1990, I went to go see the Indigo Girls on the mall in DC for Earth Day, and Tracy Chapman played too. It was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just incredible. And Michael Stipe was there and did did Kid Fears with Indigo Girls and everything. Like, it was just amazing. And I remember driving away, listening to NPR, and they were talking about the rally and all this. And I was like, you know what? Someday, if we don't do anything about this, I'm going to hear about all these natural disasters if we don't do anything, And now cut to, I don't know, a decade or more ago, and all this stuff's happening now. I mean, it's crazy to be 30 some years later, it's happening. And
you guys were singing about it then.
Yeah, we could have. We tried. I mean, my wife and I have done. We've been activists. She's been. She really got me into the living wage movement and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And and we were protest. When I was in front of the White House during the first Gulf War, getting raided by the police. I was I went to Bush's ranch. I camped outside of Bush's ranch in the second Gulf War, and it just astounds me. It's just it's this greed. The one thing that I get a little solace about is the greed is so immediate. The desire for all this stuff is just so apparent.
Yeah.
So it shows itself so quickly. So I feel like oh, at least hopefully people will see, like, oh, that these people are just in it for themselves.
Yeah.
But how do we get past this minority rule that we have in our country? I don't know. Yeah.
There's the only way to do it is to shine a light on it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Right.
Like, they're the few who command the many. They are the out of touch
Yes.
that, that old white money, that old white privilege money
Yeah.
that
Right.
seems to still steer, the entire course of our nation.
Right.
Uh, it's why I loved what you did back in the day, why I loved hardcore in general back then in punk,
Yeah.
because who else was speaking truth to power?
Right. Yeah.
Anyone? I mean, I can't think of anyone precursor to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I will rap too. Like, that's why I was so into conscious rap. But yeah, like,
Yeah.
yeah, that sort of, like, there is another way, you know? And I think, yeah, like that, if you keep, I mean, I hope to, you keep offering this alternative,
Hmm.
people will find it and realize that, yeah, it doesn't have to be this way. We don't have to, um, you don't have to be like, I am going to succumb to the mainstream, you
Yeah.
know, because that's the only option. There is an option, you know.
That's the ultimate lesson, right? Like,
Yeah.
there is an option, and once people see it, recognize that you can strike out on your own and become,
Hmm.
like something other than a number on a list of potential votes for a
Right.
plutocrat.
Yeah, yeah. And you can, if you don't like what you see, you can make it. You can use this example and make it your own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think with that, my friend, I
Yeah.
will wrap this up because we've been going for a while. I
I
don't
know. That's
know.
awesome.
I don't know if I've ever had a rapport this seamless with anyone. Um,
Oh, Peter, that's so sweet.
it,
I
it's
mean,
it's
same thing too. I feel like we got so much in common.
yeah, it's actually kind of scary, but it's beautiful because
Yeah.
we do come from the same places, the same fire
Yeah.
halls, the same era. But
Yeah.
furthermore, you didn't get jaded by time
Mm,
or age or parenthood because so many from our people, our contemporaries,
yeah.
had been indoctrinated into a more conservative bent, due probably to no fault of their own, just raising
Right.
families, joining the workforce,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
and being convinced that people were other,
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
and there is
Yeah.
no other. There is just
No.
those who are oppressors and those who are oppressed.
Yeah. And even I have to say, like, even the oppressors, they're suffering, and I'm
Hmm.
not trying to like let them off the hook, quote unquote, but I am also, they're a product of the system.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you were taught by your parents that you need to do this,
Hmm.
what, and not even taught, just freaking treated like shit. Like, I'm sure Trump was treated like shit by his family or his
Sure.
dad or whatever. Like, so what are you gonna do? Like, and I mean, I love it when people who are kind of going down a path and they find a different way. Like Malcolm X, like
Yeah.
he was going down this path. He really was examining his whole life, and he was like, you know what? I'm here in Mecca, and I'm praying to the same God that these white people are next to me, and maybe Farrakhan's not right. Like,
Yeah.
maybe I'll, like that. And I love that,
Yeah.
and and also to recognize the humanity in all of it, like what you were saying. Yeah.
Yeah, to
Sorry, go
break
ahead.
a paradigm
Yeah.
and to, see the familiarity in something that you had once considered other
Yeah.
is the most punk rock thing you can do.
Yeah. And punk is cuddle to me. And if
Yeah.
you are like, hey, um, you want more love in the world, you want more compassion,
Hmm.
then you need to be that,
Yeah.
you know? Like, how do you get more love and compassion in the world if you are going to be not giving it out, you
Yeah.
know? And I know that's hard to do. I know that a lot of people have suffered, but I don't see another way. you
No,
know?
because doing the easy thing has never created change.
Exactly.
It only
Yeah.
creates like stagnance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
okay, I'll toe the line until I blink out of existence, and what do I
Right.
have at the end of the day? Just more of the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's the antithesis of what, the whole movement was when we got into it.
Totally.
That's
Yeah.
what I get out of that's I punk rock isn't just the music that I got out of the era. It is the ethos,
Mhm.
the spirit of it.
Yeah. And
And that's
yeah.
glossed over maybe now, but not for me.
Yeah. And we're middle aged dudes, but this has so much meaning to us.
Yeah.
And, it, all those people out there, I'm sure, who are feeling that same connection are going to take this to their graves that they were part of something, you know?
Hmm.
And it's a wonderful thing. And yeah, sorry. Yeah. I'm-
That's a beautiful thing.
I could go all night, but yeah.
This is what's beautiful about the fact that
Yeah.
you're still doing it, still making
Yeah.
music, because you're creating an avenue for these young people to still harken back to people from our era that were really we were trying to
Hmm.
be something else, man the change. The fact that
Right.
someone of that ilk, of that mindset, of that era is still creating music that's important and vital and real, carrying that message is still a beacon of hope for
Oh,
these younger
yeah.
folks to
Yeah.
latch onto.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Peter. It's so
Well,
good talking to you, man.
likewise, and we need to do this again.
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah.
For certain, for certain.
Yeah, yeah. I don't even know what we all talked about, but it was great.
We got through it all, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome. Yeah. And if I ever come, you're in Philly?
I'm in Scranton.
Oh, Scranton. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Drew is in, what is it, Chester or something?
Yeah, Drew's in Chester.
Yeah. Where is Scranton? I
Scranton
know.
is about 2 hours north of Philadelphia and 2.5 hours south of New York City. I'm fully centralized
Gotcha. All
between
right.
the major cities of the East Coast.
All right. Well, let's hang out if I come up there. I'd love to meet your family. That'd be awesome.
Absolutely. That'd be great.
Cool. All right. It's good talking to you, Peter.
Likewise, brother.
All right. Have a good one. Have a good
You
night.
you too.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
There it is, y'all. Dave and I did the damn thing. And it was glorious. It was vast and expansive and well worth the price of admission. I hope you loved this as much as I did. And I'm for certain going to have Dave back on, probably closer to the release date of the new Bats and Mice record. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you all stick around for the next episode. I'm doing 2 this week. I hope you love this as much as I do, or even half as much as I do. I hope you love everything Dave has to offer. I hope you're well. I hope your family's well. I'm hoping all of the best for all of you. That being said, he's been Dave. I've been Peter. You've been beautiful. And this has been the Book of Very, Very Bad Things podcast. 3:33 a.m. studios. Have a great night, everyone. Bye.